Force came and really bombed the hell out of the whole area. And I remember that bombardment that day. We were of course we didn't even have time to run to the bunkers. That's how fast somehow they surprised the Germans, but by the time the sirens went, the bombs came, and so we were in our barracks. And I remember seeing the bombs falling in the distance, and we were in ecstasy. And this is it, our misery is going to end. Here, we didn't know whether it was the Russians or the Americans, we didn't care. Here are the people who are going to liberate us. And the bombardment actually stopped eventually, and our next morning we didn't see any of our SS guards. They all disappeared from the camp.
The Crestwood Preparatory College Oral History Project was created by Scott Masters in 2008-2009 so Crestwood students could have the chance to document the memories of family and community members who witnessed and played a role in the events of recent history. Our goal is to have students actually take on the role of the historian, interviewing these people and archiving their memories and mementos. When we started on this, we chose to focus on the World War II and Holocaust time period. Those years represent the real turning point of the 20th century, and we believe it is an important priority to have each and every high school history student at Crestwood do an interview with a veteran or survivor.
We had two trips that were called shuttle bombing. We left England, bombed Germany, landed in North Africa, Sidi Barrani in North Africa, picked up fuel, bombs, and anything else that we could get from the local bazaar, like fruits, anything, and put it in the bomb bay and fly back, and then we would bomb Italy on the way back, and then go back to the UK. And that was called shuttle bombing. We did two trips like that. And we were scared about going into Sidi Barrani because of the sand. And we were very concerned that as soon as we would start up, our intakes would start suck sand into the engines. But it didn't happen. One of the most beautiful things was when on our way down, on our way south, we would fly over the Alps at night. And that moon was as bright as day, and it was the most beautiful sight. And just had us sitting up there like targets, just waiting to get at us. But we were successful on both trips.
These are voices and stories that students need to hear, and the generosity of many individuals and organizations in the community has made the Oral History Project possible.
And we left Britain at 11 o'clock on June the 5th. This is now a museum. There's the bridge. Yeah. It's a museum. So we left Britain at 11 o'clock, and after we landed, in 20 minutes, the German garrisons were all dead. There were 3 bridges that we captured. Mm-hmm. And during the night, tens of thousands of parachutists joined us. And we were linked up with them.
Most of all, it is the veterans and survivors themselves who bring this project to life. Their vivid recollections of those little details and moments in time remind students that history is more than a textbook and a documentary film.
Can you imagine if you managed to say that you survived and you're alive? And that was a pretty good thing, you know. So it was like being reborn for a second time. And I was liberated by an American tank unit. It was all black. They were all black soldiers.
As much as possible, we make it a point to interview a wide range of people so our students can learn about the many different facets of the war. We have interviewed men and women who served both on the home and military fronts. We have interviewed people from all branches of the armed forces: Air Force, Navy, Infantry, and Merchant Marine. We have also been able to find people who fought on all sides in World War II: Canada, England, Germany, and Italy, to name a few, and we have even had Russian-speaking students interview Soviet veterans on several occasions. Korean students have interviewed native Korean veterans of the Korean War as well. The diversity of our own student body is reflected here, and this is something we expect to build upon in the future. Many groups have helped us here, including Sunnybrook Hospital and Baycrest Geriatric Center, where we have organized a number of field trips to interview the residents. And in all cases, the veterans and survivors we've interviewed have been kind enough to share their photos and papers with us, so our students can better play the role of junior historians. This is especially true of the students who have been able to interview their own grandparents, and it has given them a direct insight into their family's own history and genealogy. Many times, the generations have come together for this project. In the future, we hope to go beyond the World War II focus. We plan to interview Canadian veterans who have served in other conflicts and who have taken on the difficult job of peacekeeping. And we hope to interview people from the many diverse communities of Toronto, learning about religion and culture from the source. The Crestwood Oral History Project is just beginning.
And then suddenly I saw my mother, and then my sister saw her too, when she was with the children, so she started running towards my mother. And then when she got to my mother, she hugged my mother. And what is terribly hurting for me to this day, and something which I haven't been able to, she had a long blonde braid. And as she was running, all I saw was the braid. And since that time, I've never been able to remember her face.
One of our engineers, he wrote this way back. The phone bell, it's a bit corny. The phone bell trills, look out for thrills. The call out once again. The seas we ride with throttles wide, they shall not call in vain. He was killed when he was 19 years of age. And I still have the original one he made. His name was Clive Crosby, and he came from Cleethorpes in UK. And he went down.
They have very few rules in the Navy, but they're absolute. There's no such thing as an excuse in the Navy. If you are to be on the ship or on duty at an X hour and the bus is late or has a flat tire, that's no excuse. You should have been on another one. You should have taken an earlier one.
On June 6, 2009, the 65th anniversary of the D-Day landings, 2 Crestwood students were honored to attend the Juno Beach ceremonies in the company of the Canadian Prime Minister Stephen Harper.